everybody. We are back. I'm back after a short hiatus there. I am so excited to be back with you guys, chopping it up. Had to take a short hiatus. It always seems like a long time, but it goes by quickly. But it is something that I need to recharge. So super excited about being back and kicking off quarter 3 of season 4. Just trying to make sure. I'm going to try it again to go live into the Facebook group. Jeez. I don't think it's going to catch the scene as always. My scene here. Yep, I don't think it's going to catch. I've been working on this for a while. Trying to get the Facebook, trying to stream into the Facebook with the show. And as I've said before, it's ever since Facebook changed their policy, not using a third party app, it's been challenging for me, maybe not others. I'm going to have to work on this a little more with getting the show into the Facebook group. I can stream, but it's not stream the show. But if you are checking this out from, or we're trying to check this out from the Facebook group, I want to make sure I'm streaming to all the other channels here for sure. You're always able to check out the show on LinkedIn and the Face and YouTube. Let me make sure, because it doesn't seem like I'm streaming to LinkedIn. Let me go to the events here. Whew, this is always fun. Always, always, always fun doing this, for sure. But if you do happen to be, let me make sure I'm streaming on Restream. Starting soon. Oh man, this is gonna be interesting here. Okay. The stream is not going. Let's see if we can get this going here. 3 p.m. Should be going. Let's go into the studio. Man, you gotta love this. You gotta love it. My event is not going. Why not? Okay. Let's see. Let's see why. Okay. Says we're live, but for some reason, Restream is not streaming this out. This is going to be fun. All right. Let's see what we can do here. It is recording now, so I will be able to post it. But for some reason, it's not going live. And that troubles me. Okay. I think because I tried to set up an event through Facebook, and I think I came out with multiple events here. Let's see, stream. Jeez. Yeah. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. It is recording though. I will. I'm gonna have a recording, so I will be able to post it. So, all right, let's roll with this. We're gonna have to roll with this, and this is gonna be something I'm gonna have to work on the rest of the weekend. Why it's not doing this? Why Restream is not streaming out the show for some reason. Let me switch to studio. Let's see if we can get it going through studio. Don't know why. It's not taking. It's not picking up. It is not picking up. Ecam. Let's see. Yeah, it's not talking to Ecam for some reason. Okay. All right. We're going to have to roll with this. My apologies if you tried to tune in and you're not seeing the broadcast. I'm not sure, again, why Restream is not streaming out this episode. Yeah. You can EOS. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not picking up this episode. All right. Well, with that, we're gonna press forward here. Uh, hopefully my guests will bear with me. But as always, like I said, I thank you for always tuning into the show. We may have to bring her back on, when I get this worked out as well. But we're gonna record this. And I thank you for always, tuning in and supporting the show. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades. And I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. This space that I love so much. Again, I know this is, for some reason, like I said, not streaming out to my channels. So I take full responsibility as always. I should have checked this again after a hiatus to make sure that it was all working again. But we'll probably bring our guests back on, schedule her back on for another time to do a live, because this was going to be a fun one. And I've been so looking forward to this episode for sure, and having my next guest on because she is such a fun person. So definitely going to have to bring her back on. But again, make sure that, you get plugged in. We got a lot of stuff going on next week as well. Special 2-day live event coming up the 11th and 12th. For the Color of Motion, we will be doing a special live stream from GainsCon, who does sponsor the show today. GainsCon Film Festival and Expo, but we're going to be doing a special 2-day live event out in Las Vegas. So I'm excited about that, and broadcasting from there. Going to try and snag as many interviews from not only the participants but the attendees as well, and definitely don't want you to miss out. Only caveat is that is going to be streamed only on the YouTube channel, so you'll only be able to watch it on the YouTube channel. Make sure that you get plugged in there, youtube.com/Don Terrell. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you'll be notified when the episodes go live and new content goes up on the channel. So again, the GainsCon Film Festival and Expo will only be streamed on my YouTube channel, so make sure you get plugged in there. Also, make sure that you get plugged into the Facebook group, facebook.com/The Color of Motion. Join in. I love a large family, wanting it to grow. We share a lot of great industry news, have a lot of great fun. Definitely want to keep people up to date with what's going on in the industry. The industry is kind of going through its little thing right now. So don't want you to miss out. Don't want you to miss out on that as well. Also, make sure that you subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com, The Color of Motion. Definitely moving forward to really grow the channels. and really have a lot more engagement as well. Uh, you know, little hiccups aside, which again, have to apologize for. So, uh, what else? There's some hit. I'm always, like I said, with the short hair, I feel like I'm rusty. But also, the store is open. Make sure you hop on over to the store, thecolorofmotion.net/swag. Pick you up something nice. We have a lot of great shirts, hoodies, mugs. Looking to put more stuff into the shop so that you can, purchase those. My only caveat and request is that if you do get something, snap a picture of yourself, send it on over to me so that I can share it on the show, share it in the social channels as well. But make sure you hop on over to thecolorofmotion.net/swag and pick you up something nice. You'll definitely thank yourself for it moving forward. What else? Man, like I said, trying to make sure I get all the little housekeeping things in place. And I think I did. So with that, I think we can go ahead and kind of, get the show kicked off. Again, I think with the technical difficulties that I'm having, I'm going to, have my guest. I'm going to schedule my guest again to do a live show because you got to experience her live for sure. So with that, what do you say we get this train moving and on the tracks, hey? Wow, we're back. We're back. We're back. And I think we're ready to get this show on the road. Like I said before, we're kicking off season 4, quarter 3. And I cannot thank enough my next guest for getting us kicked off on this for sure. Again, I'm going to have to, I'm saying this a lot through this episode. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I probably should have tested live stream. I don't know why Restream is not streaming this out to Ecamm. So I'm going to go ahead and record this, post it, but we are going to, I think I am going to have my next guest on again really soon to do this live because, like I said, I definitely want her to be on the show live because she's such a great person. So, without further ado, I think we can kind of get this going and get this kicked off. My next guest, she's an artist, designer, and brand stylist that helps do disruptive brands and neurospicy. We're going to ask her about that. Neurospicy entrepreneurs find the sparkle in their brand and develop a unique look that people recognize and remember you for. As an art kid turned creative entrepreneur, she has spent the last 5 years helping entrepreneurs and small business owners showcase their difference through disruptive brand styling that turns up the volume on all the cool, quirky things that make you you. For custom hand lettered logos to complete visual rebrands, she can help you ditch your generic DIY templates and craft a signature look that is 100% as unique as your brand. Everybody, please help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Miss Rachel Lee. Oh, okay. Rachel has been having technical difficulties as well. Hopefully, she'll log back on. Let me jump over to this scene. Um, this is going to be a fun one for sure. Uh, let's see her log. See if she logs back on. Uh, I'm trying to jump in between machines here. Oh, yep, there she is. Let's try and get her back on here. And let's see if we can get this going here. Oh man. Like I
Hi!
said.
We made it!
I gotta give you another applause here. Oh man. I can tell. Like I said, I've got some going back to the drawing board and working on some stuff. Uh, like I was saying before, I think I'm kind of maxing out my machine on the streaming here and pushing it to its absolute limit for sure. I was hoping I'm using my laptop to check all my other pages, but for some reason, Restream is not connecting with Ecamm and therefore not pushing out the show. So I don't know if you heard me while I was going through the little housekeeping stuff. I am going to bring you back live again, and we'll talk about that after the show. But I am recording this, so I will be able to post the recording and share the recording out. It just seems like for some reason it's not streaming out to my channels like it should be streaming out. And I think that's because, which I shouldn't have done, tried to get Facebook set up or to try and stream into the Facebook group because it ended up kind of creating two events for some reason. And I don't know if that's what's confusing Restream with Ecamm. It created two events for some reason. So let's see. One, if it'll pick it up, and then two, we're like I said, we're just gonna roll, and I am going to schedule another time within the next couple of weeks to have you back on live again, Rachel. But I'm super excited, to have you on. Like we were chopping it up before we started the show. And I know when we connected the first time, like I said, we had so much fun talking. Like I said, and I told you, when a guest has a personality like yours, it makes the episode so much more fun and so much more easier for me, aside from the technical stuff.
Of course. We're rolling with the punches. I
We're,
was really looking forward to our chat today.
we're rolling with it. And again, my apologies. I do thank you for, just, bearing with me through all of this. And again, after the episode, I'm going to schedule another time to have you on live. I think I got a slot open in the next couple of weeks to bring you back on live. So that's what we're going to do because, like I said, I definitely don't want to cheat you out and for people to miss seeing you live. But we're going to have a fun conversation and just roll with it. Like I always say, what happens live, you got to learn to roll with it. Technology is technology. And There's nothing you can do about it. We're going to talk about technology, which we were talking about before the show. But I can't thank you enough, Rachel, for kicking off, quarter three, season four, and kicking us back off after our little short hiatus break there.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to hanging out with you today. I feel like there's a lot that we're going to be diving into.
Yes, we are. And I always like to say, or I always like to start out asking creatives kind of how they kind of, got interested in. Were you always creative? I was reading, as I read through your bio, you're an art kid. But what was it that initially kind of drew you in to just this was something that you knew you kind of wanted to do?
I feel like I was that kid that was born with a crayon in my hand. I feel like it's this innate sense that always came to me when it comes to expressing myself. I feel like every kid likes to express themselves differently. Some kids are really active, some kids love playing with toys. For me, what I ended up gravitating towards was I really liked drawing as a kid. And I was the kid that was a huge bookworm. I loved reading books, watching movies, spending time in the library, just getting lost in stories. And I think one thing that I picked it up from was just watching my dad growing up around the house doing creative problem solving. And just to give you some backstory, even though I grew up in Canada, my parents are an immigrant family. My mom and dad both come from Hong Kong, and when they first came to Canada to start a new life for us and where they had me here, they didn't have a whole lot. And when you're starting out without a whole lot of resources, it means that you have to be really darn creative. And thankfully, my dad has a background in engineering, and I grew up watching him have this can do, fix it attitude where if we don't have money to afford beds, don't worry, we can build that. Don't have money to have bookshelves, don't worry, we can build that. Don't have money to buy a dining table, don't worry, we can build that. So I kind of grew up watching this as a kid and believing that anything was possible. And I think through just the process of osmosis, I sort of absorbed a lot of that mentality and energy. So when it came to the way that I saw the world and the way that I thought, I ended up bringing a lot of that to the work that I did. And even though it came out in a more artistic sense, I don't think anyone in my family would identify as being artistic per se. I would say I have no idea where it came from for me, the tendency to want to draw and make things beautiful. That was just something that came naturally to me. But I would definitely say the attitude of can do, can fix, can make anything, I definitely adopted from just watching my dad growing up doing things around the house and just making anything happen. Like there was no such thing as we can't make it happen in my house. Like that's sort of what I grew up with and what I really appreciate.
No, and like I said, I love that. And as I was going through, like I said, researching you and reading about your story and stuff, I know you talked a lot about um, hiding your yourself and just who you were as a person, from whether it's your friends, your classmates, and just fitting in. One, I want you to speak on that, and then two, do you feel like that's a thing that a lot of creatives may kind of start out doing, trying to feeling like you're different, and that you don't want to show your natural self of who you are and your personality, and just try and fit in with the status quo?
Absolutely. I feel like every creative has this internal tension where we want to be unique, but we also want to be accepted. And I think those two things always feel like they're juxtaposing because to be unique comes at the risk of people not liking what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you have to be brave enough to accept your difference and to put that out there and have it be okay for people to look at it and say, that's not my thing. I don't like that. And
Yeah.
I think even for me, growing up with the background that I had, I grew up in a Chinese Canadian Christian household. It was very conservative, and I grew up with a lot of conditioning to please people in order to get what I wanted. I was the straight A student, and because I got good grades, I got a lot of praise. I went to church every Sunday. I memorized all my Bible verses. I became Sunday school teacher. Like I did all of the, and like I went the whole 9 yards. I grew up within a system that rewarded me for showing up a certain way, and I drank that Kool-Aid. I thought this was just the way that life would be. And it wasn't until a little further in my development as a creative where I started to have this internal tension show up, where I came to realize in order for me to step into my artistry, it means that I have to lean into some edges that are different, that aren't status quo, that the people around me would look at that and be like, huh, that's like a little weird. I don't know how to feel about that. And I had, there was a period of time where I hid a lot of my creative tendencies and my artistry because I was afraid that I wouldn't be accepted. What if people thought that I was weird? And growing up with like a huge people pleasing tendency, I struggled a lot with this. And I think it wasn't until I started my own business that the tension got to the point where I needed to do the brave thing and just put myself out there flat out, not
Yeah.
holding back, and then just have a take it or leave it attitude. Because as we know in the world of business, if you don't stand out, people don't see you and you don't make money. I don't know
Yeah.
how else to simplify it, but that's
Yeah.
basically how the world of business works. You have to dare to be different in order for things to work. And that is basically the journey that I went on, where I had a lot of these people pleasing tendencies. I hid my creativity and artistry for fear of being rejected. And it wasn't until I started my business where I realized it's not an option to hide anymore. I need to stand out, especially with the work that I do with branding, which is all about showcasing your difference. It's not an option for you to hide your difference because
Yeah.
otherwise people aren't going to see you and you're not going to get the amount of opportunities that you're looking for.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to dive further into that, but that's like an
Yeah.
overview of the journey that
No, and like you said, and kind of going along with what you said, in this, especially in this time where there's so much noise, the sea is
Mm.
so crowded. Standing out is the thing, and leaning in and being okay with leaning into your differences or what you see as those kind of quirks and differences is what stands you out. Um, as a brand stylist, do you see that that's the thing that brands um, kind of don't get, that they feel like, okay, I need to be like every other brand, as opposed to leaning into that difference, that that thing that makes them stand out? Is that a hard thing to get across to clients, that hey, no, you need to lean into really discovering what your differences are and leaning into those differences?
Absolutely. I feel like there's this huge misconception about the branding industry in general, where it's just about making your brand look pretty. And that is the tip of the iceberg. That's the most visible part that people see. But it's a whole lot more than just packaging your business or what you're doing in a way that's visually appealing. It is about understanding what is the core of what is different about you and how can we communicate that in a way that is creative and stands out. It's very much an inside out process rather than an outside in process, which is the way that a lot of people tend to see it, where they look around at all of the other businesses around them, take a look at how they're packaging or positioning themselves, and ask themselves, how can I slot myself into the niche where nobody's hanging out right now? That's oftentimes the way that a lot of brands do their positioning. And that works from a business standpoint, but from a branding perspective, I like to take it from an inside out approach where it's about asking yourself, intrinsically speaking, there is something about me that is different. I do things differently. I have a different flavor to the way that I do things. I have a different background. Maybe my service is unique, whatever it is that makes you stand out. And honing in on exactly what that is, and then finding a creative way to express and showcase that, especially with the work that I do where I focus on personal branding. It sounds cheesy when I say it, but there's only one you, and
Yeah.
that's something that you should be capitalizing on.
Yeah. Yeah. So at what, I mean, what point as you were starting to, like I said, get into, your creativity, your skill, that uniqueness that is you, at what point did you kind of decide that you wanted to be, while you are an artist and you are a creative, you're helping businesses and brands as opposed to, I guess, what's the word? Working on your own creative stuff and your own creative ideas, and kind of more, okay, I'm a creative person, but I want to put that creativity in helping businesses and brands kind of level up. You could go that route of being an artist and a creative, or you can kind of go down that route of, okay, well, I'll use my art, in which I guess, all artists do when they're working for clients, doing client work, but there are just some artists that are just pure artists and they just do it for the art of it.
Totally. I think that is the thing that those are the two worlds that I find myself being caught in between all the time. And if I were actually to share very candidly, my long term goal is just to focus on creating for myself. I want to make a living as an artist and content creator. I want to create art and just work and content that empowers people to embrace who it is that they are, step into it unapologetically, and
Yeah,
to be an advocate for authenticity in an online space that is oversaturated with fake trend hopping things. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go into that rabbit hole, but there's a lot of things on the internet that is creating things just for the sake of noise.
yeah,
And there's a lot of noise out there. And I think it's very prevalent for people to take a look at what's going on the internet and then monkey see, monkey do, copy what everyone else is doing without any sort of inclination of, well, who am I and what do I actually want to say? Outside of all of the trends, outside of what is cool and what
yeah,
people are liking and clicking on, what feels true to me, and why can't I just be brave to say it and put it out there? So I want to create work that inspires and empowers people to do that. And the work that I do for my clients is in part helping me bridge to get to that goal of long term building my brand as a content creator and as
yeah,
an artist. And in the meantime, I'm basically drinking my own Kool-Aid, where the business side of it is something that I'm working on every day. I'm learning the skills that I need to be able to, one, market my business, and then help my clients market themselves, but eventually get to that point where I can market my own brand as a content creator and then just make a living off of
yeah,
the work that I put out. But
yeah,
I do believe in using the skills that I have to help other people do the same, where I want people to feel more equipped and more confident in the way that they present themselves online, and to show them that it's possible to do the online thing without compromising on any of your values, on your integrity. You can stand out and make a splash without doing weird TikTok dance videos. Like, you don't have to do that in order to make things work. You can do things in a way that feels good and
Yeah.
natural to you and still have it work. And I feel like that's the message I have across everything that I do. But the way that I do it is in two halves right now, where, yeah, I'm working on building my own content on the side of running my business where I help people do the same. It's all one and the same. I feel like I'm just drinking,
Yeah.
I'm drinking my Kool-Aid, I'm selling it, and I'm just it's the same thing all around.
Yeah, yeah, and we, like I said, talked a little about this before the show, where, like I said, I felt like, uh, one, I was, just so caught up in just the business side of building, my business, and trying to get, all the back end business stuff going, and how do you generate leads, how do you network, and all that stuff, that I felt like I was kind of drifting away from just the creativeness that I feel I am and enjoy. How do you, I know helping clients kind of helps keep you connected, but have you ever felt like in that spot where, like I said, you're so busy and so focused on trying to make a successful business that you feel like you're losing the kind of creative side of who you are, and just really just the joy of why you got into it in the first, like you said, that holding a Crayola crayon and just sitting down drawing for the joy of creating something. How do you keep yourself kind of on point with that?
That's a great question. And I would say is something that I'm working on every day. And it goes down to setting healthy boundaries. And I think that's something that's really hard to do, especially when the work that you do is you're just on 24/7.
Yeah,
And you have to be the one who says, okay, I'm going to work on other people's things up until this point, but any point past XYZ, for me, the cutoff point is around 11 p.m. I am a night owl, so I do work a lot later than most people, but I try to set a specific cutoff time where anything beyond this point is me time. And whatever goes into that bucket, whether it's just recharging myself creatively, and it might not always be about outputting something creatively. It could be ingesting stuff for inspiration. It could be reading stories. Binging a TV show where you
yeah,
just love the characters and it inspires you to create your own. Right now, my current obsession is playing Minecraft in my free time, where it's like online, it's digital Lego, like just doing something to fill your cup,
yeah,
whatever that looks like, is really important. And I consider that time to be sacred. So, I mean, of course, I'm going to make sure I do what I do to hit my deadlines for
yeah,
the people that I'm working with as my clients. But outside of that, it is so important that you set aside time to work on your own content. And for me, I'm actually starting to block off time on the weekends just to create my own content. And
yeah,
I'm just going to have to figure out a way to squish all of the work that I do for clients into the other time outside of that. But to set that boundary and say, nope, this is sacred. This is my time. Because then if you don't set that boundary, I'm going to be honest, it's never going to happen. And I've gone for months and sometimes even years without working on my own stuff. And it is the slowest death a
yeah,
creator can ask for. Like, it is, you're asking for the death of your creative spirit if you don't set aside time
yeah,
to work on your own stuff. It is critical. I can't
no,
emphasize that more.
no, for sure. And like I said, I love your statement on just kind of leaning into your difference, and what's intrinsically in you, because like I said, before I started the show, I was doing another show. It was more business related, and kind of, it was creative, but it was more business related and entrepreneurial related. And I know when I had this space to start this show, I had to really sit down, because I was really getting, like I said, why I enjoy doing stuff for clients, and obviously that's kind of the basis of a business, is serving your clients. I felt like, again, I was drifting away from this joy, of doing something that just gave me joy and was just something that I wanted to do. So making that decision of, okay, I want to start a new show, but what is it that I really love, and I had to sit and think, and it was like I love comics, and I love always love comics, and I always love cartoons, and I love animation. So why not create a show in a space that kind of fills that void and kind of brings me back to this place that I love. So setting, like you just said, setting, making sure that you set time aside, for yourself, the creative, feeding that creative child within you, and doing just, whether it's a silly drawing or whether it's watching a Netflix movie or whatever it may be, sculpting, photography, whatever that kind of joy is, making sure that you have time for yourself. I know as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, for me, and I want to ask you as an entrepreneur that helps businesses and brands. I always found it challenging, you know, when I was talking to a potential client or going after something, um, really kind of taking that point because they think, like I said, branding. Oh, I need a logo or I need a design when they haven't really thought about, like you said, just who they are and what intrinsically in them is that thing that they want to get out. How do you one have you found that challenging when talking with businesses and brands trying to get them to understand that brand is so much bigger than just what your logo looks like or what fonts you're using or what image. It goes deeper into who you are and what it is that you want to say to the outside world. How do you one do you find that challenging with some potential clients, and then two, how do you kind of break through that, getting them to see that it's so much more than that?
That is a good question. I feel like there are some people who are just not there yet. And it is, I've come to accept that it is not my job to convince them because, especially with the work that I do with personal branding, it
Hmm.
is very much about your relationship with yourself. I often tell people a lot of the work that I do, it's borderline coaching because a lot of the themes that I talk about are identity centric. Before we get into building your brand, we do have to ask that question, who the hell are you? Like that is a big existential question. I know. I mean like I've just gotten past like my quarter life crisis. I turned 30 in November and I feel like every year I'm asking myself this question, but we do have to ask that question, who the hell am I? And how do I want the world to see me? That
Wow.
is the fundamental question that, regardless of if you have a personal brand or a business brand, you have to be able to answer that question in order to be able to communicate effectively. And there are some people where they're just not at that stage of their journey yet where they're asking that question. There's no curiosity where it's more a question of how can I package my business in a way that's more appealing so I can get more customers and earn more money. That
Yeah.
is the level at which a lot of people are working out of. And that's not, it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that in a negative light. I'm just saying that that is oftentimes the type of clientele that they would work better with just a designer who can help them with exactly what they're looking for. But when it comes to people who understand what a brand is, oftentimes those are the people who understand the conversations around identity.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that the conversations I enjoy the most are with the people who tell me, hey Rachel, I'm not happy with the way that my brand is right now because I feel like I'm only showing 50% of who I really am. And there's this other side of me that I'm trying to put out, but I just don't know how to communicate it online. Can you help me figure out what's the best way to do that? Those are the types of conversations that I enjoy a lot more because they clearly know what they're trying to communicate. It's just how to communicate it is where they're struggling. So that's usually where I love to play, and where I love to lend my expertise of, okay, like let's lay all of the mess out on the table. Give me all the word vomit, right? Tell me all of the things that you want to put out there. Tell me what isn't mixing well with your current brand, and let's find a creative way to just put all these pieces together in a way that makes sense. So
Yeah.
that is a very interesting question that you ask, where some people are just not at that point yet where it's something that they're looking for, and that is totally okay. But I've come to release that responsibility on my end of educating people, because you can't tell people what they should want. They should already want it by the time you talk to them about how can I help you.
Yeah.
So
Like I
yeah.
said, I don't know about you, but like I said, I've come across, so many clients, businesses, especially like the ones that are just kind of starting out, or they're small, they're just starting out. Um, they don't even,
Yeah.
and you have this conversation like, okay, I guess the first question I ask is, okay, who are you trying to speak to? They have no, or they say, I speak to everybody, or I serve everybody, and they have no idea who their audience is
Uh
that they're trying to even dial into, and just lean, they, because they want to serve it. And that was a hard thing for me, as a
yeah.
entrepreneur and a business person, because you feel like you're leaving things on the table, as opposed to going
Yeah.
after that specific audience that you know you want to speak to. I found a lot of businesses, or a lot of like entrepreneurs, they just, they wanted to talk to everybody, they wanted to serve everybody, and it's like, it's not gonna work. It just makes it so
No.
much harder, because you're trying to serve everybody, and you can't serve everybody. Even the biggest companies out there, they have their audience, and they know who their audience is. Anybody outside of it, they're, if they like their product or service, they'll buy it, and
Yeah.
they're good with that. But as far as their branding, their advertising, their marketing, it's targeted to a specific type of person. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know if you found that as frustrating as I have, when it comes to, like I said, getting into that discovery. A lot of, businesses, and just haven't really taken the time to sit down. And I've made that mistake myself when I first started out. You felt like you needed to take everything
Yeah.
and serve everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very normal part of every business owner's development to go from I help everybody to I help a very specific group of people. And I think it's important to start off broad, where the first few years of business, even for me, it was about just seeing, because I was trying to find a good combination people that I like to work with and services that I like to offer. And oftentimes it's hard to find a good combination of both of those things. And the way that I like to equate it to is the analogy of going to a buffet. And when you go through the buffet line for the very first time, you want to try a little bit of every dish, even the questionable ones. You're like, I just want to try it because I can, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
the
Let me see
first
if I
few
like
years of
it.
business, it's gonna be your first run through of that buffet line. Exactly. Like, let me try it. It looks that dish looks really ugly, but I just want to try it. Like let me see. And then you eat everything, and very quickly you're gonna narrow down the few dishes that you're gonna want to top up on for your second go around with the
Yeah,
buffet line. And I would say every year of business is you going back to the start of that buffet line and topping up on the dishes that you specifically liked. And you're going to find eventually, with the number of go arounds that you do, you're going to just top up on one or maybe two types of dishes, because you find out what you really like. And you're like, I could do without any of the other options. So you have to try everything in order to know what you do or don't like, in order to be able to narrow it down. So I actually encourage people, yes, it's important to niche, but only after you've tested everything. because you don't know what's going to work or not work for you until you try it. So
Yeah.
do it messy. That's the only way you could go about doing it.
Uh, well, and I want to dive into, like I said, asking you some questions. Like I said, because you do, and we're going to take a look at some of the brands that Rachel has done work for in a minute. But what do you find as kind of the common theme when you talk to businesses and brands that uh, they struggle with?
Mm. I feel like a lot of it is finding consistency and cohesion in what they're putting out. Oftentimes, when I talk to a lot of people, they've tried putting something together. They have the scrappy DIY brand where they have a Canva logo that they did their very best with. They have a few templates that they scrounged off of the internet. Their best guess at a color palette that makes sense, like they've done their best. And even the people who say that they don't have any branding, I mean, they've tried something. They
Yeah,
Even if you don't have a logo, you consciously chose a specific font that you would use to represent your company, right? There's still some conscious thought that's been put into the way that things are being represented. So whether if it's well designed or not, I'd say everybody actually has something, but the common theme that I often hear from people is that they have a lot of pieces here and there, but everything is all over the place. And I can almost say this verbatim now. Everyone's like, everything feels scattered. I'm sorry, it's all over the place. And I just need some help putting the pieces together in a way that makes sense. So I like to say that the work that I do, I actually just help people organize things. It's just, let's pull everything out of your closet, lay it all out, and then let's organize them into neat little piles. Your lights, your darks, and your colors, right? So then when you open your closet, you know where everything is. And on any given day, you know which pile that you're reaching for, and everything just makes sense. But yeah, the common theme is usually consistency. People are just like, everything's everywhere. It's so chaotic. I don't want to think about it. And that's usually where they pull someone in like me to help them manage and organize the chaos.
yeah, yeah, and trust me, so many businesses, and I'm not an exception of it, but so many businesses and brands need that help to bring in kind of those pieces and put those pieces together, and do and and to that point, do you think like the time that we kind of live in now with social media, the apps, and things like that, that's kind of what people are trying to do in businesses and brands. Maybe not the more established ones because they know they'll go out and hire somebody, a professional, to help them put their brand together, especially if they know, like you said, they understand the importance of branding. But do you think a lot of businesses now do try and do these DIY things or use these apps and like I love Canva, or and that these apps make it seem like it's such an easy thing to do?
It is. I feel like Canva is an amazing tool. It's made design accessible to a much wider range of people. And I think it's a great place to start where people who are just starting their business and they're bootstrapping it, they've got like $5 in the bank and they're just trying really hard to make it work. Canva's amazing. Like, I think it's an amazing start. But when you get to a certain point in your business, after you've gone through your buffet line, after you've tested and refined a few things, and you're like, I know what I want to focus on, and and I'm going to say in quotations, do it for real now. Like, I've done the scrappy thing, I've tested it, I know how to do things properly, and I know what I want to do. That's usually the point at which they are ready to hire a professional such as like myself to help them actually take all of the pieces that they've gathered over the years of testing and then find method to the madness, organize it, polish it a little bit, whatever it is. Everybody has gotten to that specific point where they're like, I've tried to do it myself and it's only going to get me so far. Now's the time when it's appropriate for me to work with a professional to actually polish it and have it look like a real proper setup instead of something that was set up DIY in your parents' basement,
Yeah,
right? Like there's a
yeah.
very, very big difference between the two.
Yeah, for sure. And before we press on, let's take a look at some of the brands that Rachel has done work for. Because, like I said, you have such a unique style and such a fun style that it seems to translate through all the stuff that you worked on so far. And I kind of want you to kind of uh, narrate what you kind of pulled out from each one that really helped you to solidify the look that we see. Like this one, it's a fun brand. When you sat down with the owner, um, what was kind of your process for what you pulled from her that got you to this point right here?
This was a really, really fun brand that I did for one of my biz besties and amazing mentor. This is a personal brand for my contact called Fantastical Fatty, and it's basically a personal brand and a community actually that is all about embracing what you have physically in terms of your physique, and it's about joyful movement and celebrating your body and working with what you have and understanding that you can exercise even in a larger body. You can make it fun, and it's something that we should love and celebrate regardless of what it looks like and outside of the wrapper of what society tells us our bodies should be looking like. If you look at advertising, you're going to know what I mean. And there is this whole movement, even in advertising, where we're moving towards body inclusivity and positive thinking with your body image. So that's a lot of what this brand is about. And this brand, it was very specific, a retro vibe where it's got a little bit of sass, it's got a little bit of this pop art comic book sort of feel to
Yeah,
it, and it is about being loud, it's about being joyful. And it was so fun picking out a font for this where it was round, it was bubbly, it was kind of fancy, a little chic. It's got a little bit of sass to it. And
yeah,
I really liked finding a creative way to capture all of that, where you see like the bright pink lips blowing like a bubble gum, and it's got like all of these comic book puffs of smoke, and like there's a lot of like pow
yeah,
pizzazz and sparkle to this brand. And it was so fun just capturing all of that because there's so many brands out there who play it safe. And what I loved about this brand was the message is about we are not afraid to take up space. We encourage you to take up space and to be loud and proud about it. So all
yeah.
of that came out in the colors, the shape of the logo, the font, the whole shebang.
And that was why, like I said, it stuck out to me because it had that kind of comic book feel to it, and definitely, like I said, just like you said, had that pop to it. Now, this one was probably one of the more, I guess, traditional, kind of more almost corporate type. It was a little different, which is why I pulled it, used it because it was slightly different than a lot of the other ones that I saw that you did.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about this one, how you kind of came up with this. And I know, like I said, there are some clients or businesses that really try and hang on to that more quirky, fun side to them. Depending on what the business is. I don't know. Um, you know, like say a law company. May not translate into say like a more comic-y fun type of thing, and you have to try and find that balance of giving them something that really fits within them but still has that their own unique personality in what they're trying to say.
Exactly. And that is exactly reflected in the brand that I created for this client, where it is vastly different from the previous brand that we just talked about. This brand that I created for one of my clients is actually for a fractional CFO firm. And
Mm,
as we know, in the world of finance, it is very suit and tie, it is very formal. And if I were to be honest, I would want to work with an accountant that's got safer branding too. If you went for a crazy, bubbly, retro vibe for your accountant, the impression that I get is that you're outgoing, you're spontaneous, you might be a little erratic. And I don't want that from my accountant or if I hire a lawyer. That's not the vibe that communicates safety and stability. So, for specific industries, and I'm not saying that every accountant or lawyer needs to have like a specific type of branding. I'm saying that the
Yeah.
overall feeling that you want to communicate for your clients needs to be appropriate to the work that you're doing. So, specifically for this, for my client who has a fractional CFO firm, what we really wanted to capture here was that it's not just about numbers, which, if I mean, I were to be honest, it's kind of boring. I don't think there's anything remotely exciting about numbers. There are some people who totally nerd out over them. And you know
Yeah.
what? Respect to you. I think we need people like you, like that in the world. It's totally not my thing. But for those types of people, they numbers tend to be a very boring thing. And for this specific company, we really wanted to capture the customer facing side of the business where it is about providing a luxury experience for the client. So that's why this brand here, it feels more like the brand, the font would be more appropriate for maybe like a jewelry company. It's got a little bit more of that high end, high class, upscale vibe, and it speaks to the type of experience that this specific fractional CFO firm provides for their clients, where it is the type of setting where they're going to invite you into a nice, brightly lit, super modern, beautiful furniture, agency like space. They're going to give you a cup of tea while they sit you down and talk over your numbers. It's a very curated and it's a very specifically curated experience, and they wanted their branding to give off that feeling. So, yes, numbers are boring. We can't get around that, but they wanted to focus instead on the luxury experience that their clients can be expecting from the customer facing side of the experience, so that the numbers side of things, they're like, don't worry, just kick, kick your feet up on the couch. We've got this handled. We're going to make it feel easy, even though it is something that is difficult. So that's
Yeah.
a lot of what we wanted to communicate with this specific logo. But yes, it
Yeah.
was about stability. It was about communicating like we've got you covered, and not be this crazy erratic in your face type of brand. It's very
Yeah.
opposite to that.
Yeah. And which, and I want to stick on this one for a minute because, one, because like you said, it's an accounting firm. But two, um, just that fine line of, like you said, perception versus,
Mhm.
your personality. Because one, uh, and I think about this because I have an accountant, friend, and his brand in his business is numbers, and like you said, their perception goes a long way in how people perceive things, whether it's high value, low value, conservative, on the other side of it. But his personality is he plays in a rock band. He's a band, and he's got that kind of band personality and type of thing. How do you merge
Yeah.
the two, and find that balance of I want to perceive, I want people to perceive that this is a professional company, but I also want to infuse my personality into that. And I want people to get that that's why it's so important, especially when you're really diving into your brand, to really hire somebody that can help you find that balance of, like I said, an honest perception, because, a lot of, whether we realize it or not, our perceptions do inform, like I said, what we think reality is, and we base our buying decisions off of whether right or wrong, the perception of what we see a brand put out. But then, too, again, with branding, it's about finding, like you said, pulling out that what's in you and kind of finding that balance. Have you ever come
Mm.
across that where, like I said, it's especially on a personal brand? I could see like a big company or a big law firm, but when it's an individual person trying to develop their brand, and the brand is like you said, boring. Well, I'm not saying numbers are boring. Like you said, everybody, there are those people that love numbers, but those kind of corporate, professional, high end brands that that's what they want to put out there, but them as a person is just this, wacky, goofy type of person. Do you find that
Yeah.
a hard kind of line to find type of thing?
That is actually, to be honest, that is my area specialty where I love and encourage people to find the duality that is in your brand. Because if you take a look at a lot of brands out there, they will feel very flat and one dimensional because they only capture and showcase one side of you. When we actually take a look at human beings in general, we are multi-layered complex creatures. It is not as simple as you are just fun, you are just serious. No, like we have so many different layers to who we are that it is actually an art to be able to communicate all of those things at once in a way that feels cohesive. So I actually like to say that it is the best and the funnest challenge when I work with clients who are like that, especially when it comes to your personal brand, because we have so many layers to us. It is the fun challenge. And this is where I draw from my background with creative problem solving, where every person's formula of how you completely different. And I can actually draw from a few experiences of work that I've done for some clients where one of my clients has a long-standing background in corporate HR, super, super corporate. And for the longest time, she presented her brand as a business coach as that super polished, walks into the room with high heels sort of vibe, super
Yeah.
chic, super professional. But in reality, she actually lives on like 130 acres of farmland in the middle of Colorado, runs around, has like 20 chickens and horses, and spends most of her time in the farm. Like I kid you not, like she has like it's so different, the two worlds that she straddles, but those are both her. And for the longest, like all of her clients know this about her. They call her the crazy chicken lady, which I thought was amazing and hilarious. But for the longest time, she didn't know how to incorporate that into her brand because she was afraid that if she brought
Having a little freeze up
any
here.
part of that side of her in her marketing, oh no, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just kind of a little glitchy there, but like I said, I
Yeah.
think that's part of it. Is like I said, I'm pushing my machine to its max. So just keep going. We can hear
No
you. You're
worries.
freezing there,
All
but we're
good.
gonna roll with it for sure, and definitely something I have to take care of. But you were saying that that is a hard thing to straddle. And she was afraid. And I guess every business owner would be thinking that, like, well, if my clients knew that, like I said, I have all these chickens around and everything like that, they're not gonna want to hire me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that was the fun challenge that we brought with us to her branding. And the brand that we created for her, it had a perfect balance of the chic side of her brand, that is the polished high heels, march into the boardroom and command it sort of vibe, plus that farm girl side of her, but incorporating those two sides of it visually speaking, where there was balance and harmony, where it spoke to those two sides of her brand. And we picked a color palette that actually perfectly captured that vibe, where her primary brand color was still a navy blue, but it was like a softer navy blue, not like the deeply saturated, like inky sort of blue. It was sort of like a dusky, dark navy blue. And then we had supportive brand colors that were saddle tan, dirt
Mm,
brown,
yeah.
and it was like straw, sort of like a beigey sort of color. So we actually found a really good way to blend the corporate side of her brand, but also the farm girl side of her brand together in a way that still looked upscale and polished, but alluded to that side of her that spends most of her time outside with all of her animals. I think she's got a bunch of dogs too. She's this lady who's got like so much. And creating a brand that actually encompassed all of that actually allowed her to show up in a more dynamic way in her content, where I think she's starting to bring chickens with her onto her into her social content and use it as like a fun way to catch people's attention and use it as analogies for the way that business and life is something that's meant to be integrated together. Like it's
Yeah.
actually like a very fun way to catch people's attention. So that's just like one example of how you can incorporate two completely
Yeah.
juxtaposing sides of your brand together in a fun way. But when you do, it is the most powerful tool that you could use for your marketing because people see everything at a glance and they're like, that's different. I want to work with you.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I keep telling my friend Scott. If you're watching this, definitely keep that in mind. Incorporating, a bit of who you are as a rock and roller band person definitely sets you, I think, different than, like I said, most other people that are out there just kind of leaning into the status quo type of thing. This was another, or this is your brand. I love the cat with the
Yes.
X eyes. We obviously see that you love pink, and pink is your major color that you
Yes.
love and incorporate into your branding as well. Let's
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
This is another fun one that I really liked. It just, like I said, the it just seems to fit so well with the brand and such a fun, like I said, um, fun way of showcasing the Candy Curio Treat Shop. You know,
Yes. Yes, these are all brands that I can confidently say I had a lot of fun working with them because all of these brands across the board, they were emotionally ready to lean into the thing that made them different.
mm,
They decided not to play it safe and they said, "Rachel, whatever about our brand that you feel is special, help us turn up the volume on that and like really let that show." And the
yeah,
brands that are brave enough to step into that are the ones that actually end up getting noticed because the brands that play it safe, I'm sorry, you might as well not have branding because
yeah,
like
yeah,
the whole point is to be seen. And if you're not doing it in a way that people are noticing you, specifically in your industry, then it means that you're not doing it right. So
yeah,
I would say this was really very much a fun brand. Like they're like, we really want it to feel like this like retro and nostalgic vibe, but still like the family, like mom and pop candy shop that you could bring the whole family out to. There's something for the kids, there's something for the parents, and it's like this whole experience. So I had a lot
yeah,
of fun working on the logo
yeah.
for this brand as well.
And I think that's something that we kind of both agree on. We love working with those brands that are willing to kind of step out of the box a little of what they're doing or have been doing, and kind of lean into something a little more creative that's truer to themselves. Blue Sprout
Yeah.
marketing, like I said, really clean, but a
Yes.
brand design that really does kind of stand out.
Yeah, this brand was really fun. It's actually for one of my clients who's a little further inland, lives in a part of my province where there's a lot of orchards and vineyards. So my client, who has an organic marketing agency, really likes this idea of organic marketing, and they themselves, they're somebody who always has their hands in the dirt and in their garden, and they're very nature oriented. So when we were working on their branding specifically, I remember she told me that she loved National Geographic and she wanted
Mm,
a brand that sort of captured that vibe where it is natural, but there are some modern components to it. And she didn't want it to have this very flimsy, boutique, delicate sort of look where, you know, there are some logos that they're so thin and delicate that if I blew it, it would fall over. Like that sort of flimsy. She
yeah,
wanted something that had a little bit more prominence and was modern enough for people to understand that, oh, like they use modern tactics and but they are all about organic growth. It's not just like let's pour a bunch of money into advertising to get the results. So it was really fun trying to find a way to incorporate all of that, and a lot of it went down to picking the right font that captured a lot of that energy, where it's modern and it's bold, but it's soft. It's got like a lot of really fun and round curves, specifically in the T. That's what we
yeah,
actually ended up turning into the logo icon and adding just a little bit of a flair to it. So this
yeah,
was definitely a fun brand for me to work with, trying to combine all of those ideas into one visual concept.
yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it for sure. Um, I want to ask you before we kind of dive into our next kind of topic. Did you ever have an illusion or a thought of, or if you were to do something else outside of this that you would get into outside of creative, or have was this the only lane that you ever thought of doing? Like you said, when you were, younger and in school, you got great grades and, you were really, I guess academically doing well. Was there ever another profession that you thought that, could see yourself doing?
If I were to think back to when I was like really, really, really young, and this was before I understood anything about careers. You know, in elementary school, when your teachers ask you, like, what's the thing that you want to do for a living? Like that big question that no kid really knows how to answer. And most kids are like, I want to be an astronaut, like
Yeah.
that sort of question. I remembered before it occurred to me that, oh, I could become a designer. That was sort of like the thing that was in my head when I went through high school. If I were to be honest, as a kid, I would have told you that I wanted to be a librarian because I was a huge bookworm growing up. And for me, every book was a portal to a new world. So I thought that I had this impression of librarians as they are the gatekeeper to all of the world. And that is like the most epic profession where it's like your job is to upkeep and like watch over all of like this like all of this knowledge. And I thought there was just something that was so noble and epic about it that I was like, I want to be a librarian. I want to spend all my time just like hanging out in the library and keeping watch over all of these books, like being the watcher of all the sacred knowledge. Like that was like what I wanted to be as like a kid. But I think after I went through my whole I want to be a librarian phase, I knew that I wanted to make things for a living. That was sort of like the itch that I needed to scratch, and kind of was the breadcrumb trail that led me down the path of studying design in art school and then landing myself a full time job as a graphic designer at a local marketing company. And I honestly thought that that was going to be it. I thought that I was going to be happy at that job and I was supposed to work there for 40 years, then retire. That was the whole trajectory of my life. Needless to say, it didn't turn out that way because I realized that there were just some boxes that I wasn't able to tick off at my
Yeah.
full-time job. I think it was an amazing workplace, but it just turns out that I was missing a huge component of talking to people and doing creative problem solving that it just wasn't provided for me within the constraints of the role that I had. So,
Yeah.
needless to say, I ended up making the scary choice of leaving and doing my own thing because I wanted to have a little bit more control over the experience that I had. And, you know, when I started off my business, it was just full time freelance graphic design. I found branding along the way where
Yeah.
it was kind of in the first year of business where I discovered and fell in love with it. But at first, it was very much just, hey guys, I am really good at making things look pretty. Who needs things to look pretty for their business? You can hire
Yeah.
me. That was literally where I started. And then, like I said, going through the buffet line, I tried a little bit of everything. And then that's how I discovered and fell in love with branding. That's kind of how I started to niche things down. And I would say every year I would niche down a little bit more, either with my services or just developing a better understanding of the people that I liked working with, specific types of businesses, whether from an industry or value standpoint. You just start sharpening your pencil. So every year it gets a little sharper and the
Yeah.
lines that you draw are a little clearer.
Yeah, yeah. Now that's such a great analogy. And I want to ask you, what brand out there now that you look at and say, "Wow, that's a cool brand. They do, it looks cool. Their branding is cool. Their marketing is cool." What kind of brand kind of sticks out to you that you really, love?
Mm. I am really into streetwear brands right now. If you can't tell, I'm a huge tomboy. Let me see if I can like adjust my camera a little bit. Like there is like a whole bunch of hats that I have on my shelf. Like
Yeah,
I run around most of the time in big t-shirts. I'm really into like all of the streetwear stuff. And
yeah,
I one thing that I really like about streetwear brands in general is that it's oftentimes very underground and counterculture sort of vibe where they're like, we're going against the grain. Everyone is going like super high end fashion, polish, perfect. But what I like about a lot of streetwear brands is that they're like, we're not afraid to be grungy. We're
yeah,
not afraid of the chaos and the grit. And I think what I'm really liking are the streetwear brands that are finding creative ways to collaborate with high end fashion because as we know, there's a lot of streetwear that is pretty much borderline high end fashion right now. They just got like a cooler vibe to them
yeah,
where
yeah,
they're doing this cool blend where they're doing a lot of co branding with higher end brands to have a really cool balance of, yeah, like grungy and street and down to earth, plus a little aspect of high end fashion. There is luxury in it.
yeah,
And finding this really cool blend, I feel like any brands out there who do a really good job of showing two sides of the coin and having it blend well together in a harmonious way. Like those are all brands that I'm really, really big fans of, where they can
yeah,
show two sides
yeah.
in a way that works really well together.
Yeah, no, and I think just the fact that you said that, FUBU comes to mind when I think of that. Damon Johns was really good about building a grassroots brand that, like you said, almost felt grungy, but you know, and really tied into his passion of hip hop and his love of hip hop, and just grew from that. And now it still has that edge of being grungy, but it is a high it's a high end kind of luxury brand wear. And those ones that can find that balance of like what you just said, just the grungy, but they're still got that kind of high end, almost graffiti type style. It just they just seem to do so well, for sure. Um, I kind of want to transition because we had kind of a deep conversation before the show on this topic. And it is the big kind of elephant in the room now that I do kind of bring up is AI and just the impact of what AI is doing to the industry. And like I said, we did have kind of an interesting conversation before the show started, that I would like to dive into because it is kind of seeping into so many different areas, and especially as a creative, how it's impacting the industry. I want to kind of hear your thoughts on AI. You know, how you use it, where you feel like it's going. And I've always said a lot of my friends are on one side of the fence. A lot of creators hate it. A lot of creators they love it, type of thing. Some people are like me, are kind of in the middle, that type of stuff. What's your thoughts on AI and the impact of it? Because, like I mentioned before, it's a genie that's not going back in the bottle, sort of thing.
It is true. It's not going away. And it almost feels like overnight everybody started using it. And I think there was this initial fear, and I myself was on that bandwagon of being initially skeptical about incorporating it into my work just because I wasn't quite aware of how to use it as a tool that supported my creative work. The lens through which I viewed it, and I think a lot of people who are afraid of AI see it, is oh my god, AI is going to take over my job and I'm not going to be able to make a living anymore because all of a sudden my clients are using their AI to write their copy. They're using AI to generate their branding. They're using AI to make videos now at this point. Like
Yeah.
they're using AI to do everything, like create their
Everything.
lead magnet, write their email sequence, like build their business and serve their clients, AI everything.
Yeah.
And I know that's the far extreme where there are some people who do purely use AI to put stuff out there. And I feel like even though AI is a great tool, it isn't a substitute for the human touch and the need to finesse the results that you get from what you plug into the engine and put out a finished product. Because at the end of the day, AI pulls from the things that already exist on the internet. And what is the point of hiring you as a professional if you're just going to regurgitate stuff that other people have already done?
Yeah.
People hire you because they want your expertise and your touch. But where you could be stepping up as a, specifically for us as creative service providers and being of better service to our clients, is to use AI as a tool to help expedite certain parts of your creative workflow so that you can possibly, for me, generate ideas faster, go through a lot of the messy, mucky ideating phase of let's just get all of the ideas out there using my own brain, using AI. Like, let's just get as many ideas as possible. And then still using your own brain and understanding of what the project is about. And then sifting out all of the things that don't work. And then finding the one or few ideas that you want to take and then refine and polish them. I like to say that AI is great at taking you maybe at most 50% of the way there, but it's not going to substitute your need to go in and then add your expertise, do that final polish, make that final tweak. Like, it's not going to be perfect exactly as per project specifications if you just stick take it straight from the generator and give it to your client. At that point, your client should not be paying you. They should just be like, we should just be training our clients to use AI at that point. But I do feel like it's an amazing tool, and you are going to quickly fall behind if you don't learn how to use it in a way that's supportive for your business. So
Yeah.
it's not as scary as a lot of people make it seem. It's not going to take over your job. It's just here to make your job go faster. So you could focus on the parts of the process that bring you joy, that actually require your expertise. And you can actually just spend more of your energy doing the parts of the work that actually require your expertise to be there. So
Yeah.
it's a good
Well,
tool, is what I'm going to land on.
well, to that point, do you feel like I said, it shortcuts some people, like you said, that don't have that expertise, but still feel like, okay, because I have AI, I could use AI, to be a screenwriter, and they don't have the concept of crafting just what makes a good story, what, putting stories together, that type of thing, or that aren't necessarily a great artist or understand design principles and things like that. But hey, I can use AI to create whatever it is I want. Do you feel like, because I feel like that's kind of the thought that the my friends that are artists and creatives that are on that side of, they don't like it because, like I said, it gives people that notion of, okay, I don't have to be a great writer, or I don't have to know design principles. I could just put in a prompt, and out plops an image or out plops a script, and I can just hand that over, and now I'm a script writer. Now I'm a artist type of thing. Because I feel like I said, some people lean on that as opposed to, like you said, you know, a lot of people spend a lot of money, spend a lot of time learning that skill of being a
Yeah.
writer, of being a artist, or whatever it is. And AI has come in and just given people the impression that, oh, okay, as long as I can type in what I want, and you know tell the computer what I want, and it spits out something, then I'm a professional at it, and I know how to do it now.
I laugh at this because the funny thing is that some oftentimes where people get stuck is that they don't know what they want and they don't know how to provide the right instructions in order to get a final product. And I think one of my friends actually who is in HR uses AI as a really good training tool to teach people to learn how to give proper instructions, because it's not the AI's fault if it gives you something that you're not happy with. It means that you didn't give good instructions and that you need to get better at articulating in a clear and concise way exactly what you want. At the end of the day, it's just taking orders. And if it gives you something that you're not happy with, you have to take a look and understand, well, what am I inputting that isn't helping me get the result? And that's oftentimes where you do need some professional training to know how to communicate specific things. And even though, yes, AI does help us shortcut a lot of the needs to be able to technically create something. It's pretty darn smart at just helping with all of those shortcuts. It doesn't substitute the practiced eye that comes from a designer spending years of just lining up pixels and
Yeah,
understanding design concepts, or the years of study that you've put in learning how to be a good script writer. It doesn't substitute that knowledge, because even as a professional creative who writes copy professionally for a living, where I've designed since I've been in diapers, even with my expertise, whatever the heck I plug into I still have to refine it. Like,
yeah,
that's why I said it only takes you about 50% of the way there. For some people, it's great where it removes the barrier. Where, I mean, without AI, they would have been at 1%, and what they put out into the world would have been professionally unacceptable. Now, with maybe about 50%, they're able to put together something that is workable. But to get to the 100% mark, you're still going to have to work with a professional.
yeah,
I just say AI has made it easier for people to, it's made certain aspects of creativity more accessible to people, but I don't think it takes away the need for professional service providers to do their thing. And we've all gotten pretty darn good at sniffing out AI generated
yeah.
captions and posts and art. We can
Images,
sniff
all of
it
that.
from a mile away. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's funny that you said that
Yeah.
because, like you said, it doesn't, even the seasoned artist creator can pick out those little fine things within a AI generated thing that just isn't quite right. Because I remember watching um, a review, uh, an animator, Aaron Blaze, who's worked for Disney, who's an old school Disney animator, who's worked on Brother Bear and all of that. He was doing a review
Yeah.
of an animation corridor crew, which is this visual effects company. Um, they they have a channel. They do a lot of review on visual effects and movie stuff. They wanted to see if they could create a 2D style animated kind of short using AI.
Mm,
It still had
yeah.
some traditional aspects to it of they still had to shoot the film and they should still had to
Mm,
film actors and things like that, but they wanted to see if they could use AI to give it this 2D style look and have it, polished. And he was doing a review
yeah.
of it, and like you said, while he said it was really good, he could pick out the little small things that maybe the average person probably would, watching it may not notice. But it's interesting because, he said as a professional 2D animator, he wasn't threatened. He didn't feel threatened by it because obviously, like I said, like you said, it's still going to take that certain percentage of skill and human touch to make something just really, really good and really, really unique as opposed to the typical things that, like I said, we've gotten pretty good picking out, especially when it comes to, as far as art, especially when it comes to humans. We've gotten really good at
Yeah.
picking out that kind of AI feel to it. So I thought that was interesting because, he, as a traditional animator, didn't feel threatened, and he said, "Well, I want to learn how I can use this to help help what I'm creating better." You know,
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually worked with a lot of clients who bring to me some AI generated images of some ideas that they had for their brand. And they actually bring those images to me and they say, hey Rachel, I have this thing that I really want to create for my brand. And I tried using AI to just get a few ideas going. And here are the closest samples that articulate what I'm trying to create, but it's not where I want it to be. And I wanted to just give this to you and see if you can help me take it that last leg of the journey. I've actually had a lot of clients who got smart and are using AI to help us expedite the brand creation process. And it's great because it means that they've gotten into the practice of articulating what I want. And it's actually a great learning tool, even for my clients, to be able to articulate, here's what my vision is, here's what I want, I know what it is I'm trying to communicate. And even they have gotten to that point where they're like, AI, this is like the best of what I could generate, but it's still not exactly the
Yeah,
thing that lives in my head. Can you help me take it that last 50%, 20%, 30% of the journey? So
yeah,
my clients are using it too, but it's actually just made our workflow a lot more seamless.
yeah, yeah. And you alluded to, like I said, it just seems like it kind of sprung up so fast. Do you feel like AI is moving too fast? Because I've talked to some well, not talk, but I've listened to some people speak, especially some that are directly, responsible and related to the coding and just the creation of AI. Some developers saying, well, I feel like, we're moving too fast on this and haven't thought of the, outside of, just art and creation, AI as AI, artificial intelligence, because there is a certain danger um, with it in that,
Yeah,
okay, if I really want to, cause some, especially like if you think about in the political arena, you can get somebody saying anything with AI voices and, deep fakes and this type of thing. There is this
yeah,
aspect of, and like I say, as a tool, there are always going to be people that use a tool the wrong way. So do you feel like
fair
we are
point.
moving a bit too fast on AI and how we're just dumping, apps are dumping AI into this and AI is just infiltrating this? Do you think that there's that portion of it but we're moving just a bit too fast with AI as opposed to taking a step back and really thinking about the ramifications of what AI could potentially do if used the wrong
Yeah.
way.
Absolutely. I feel like, as amazing as it has been to learn how to incorporate the use of AI tools in my own business, I find that with anything, when you grow too quickly, and it's kind of like when you push a snowball and it starts to roll down the hill by itself and it picks up speed, and at some point the snowball's going faster than you can keep up with it. I think AI has gotten to that point where it's starting to roll and you can't keep up. You're like, oh my God, like I can't control it anymore. Like,
Yeah,
we're at that point where there's a lot of experts, especially in the AI space, who are kind of raising caution flags, I would say, hey, this is amazing. All of this innovation, this is beautiful and incredible. But, and I think the big but is that we haven't set up parameters that help us use it in a way that is safe. So even
yeah,
a lot of my friends in the legal field, for example, they're pulling up a lot of red flags about AI and intellectual property and copyright, because as we know, AI just generates from a pool of things that
yeah,
are have already been created. And as we know with legal stuff, you want to be careful about making sure that whatever you use, even if you used AI in the process of creating it, is that it doesn't infringe on certain legal side
yeah.
of things
Or that
for
it's
copyright and
incorrect.
intellectual property. Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
we need to set up parameters, I would say, just to make sure that we're using it in a way that is appropriate and safe, that it's even moral. I'm gonna say there's a
Yeah.
lot of
No.
like gray areas when it comes to AI. We should be careful. And I think things are going so fast that we haven't been able to set up those safeguards fast enough to keep up with the pace at which things are developing. So
Yeah.
I would say it would be great if we can find a way to slow it down it's just to the point where we can keep pace with setting up proper safeguards to make sure we're using things properly. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah,
I
I
think we've set
don't.
something in motion that it's
Once
just going to
something in
keep going.
motion,
So
it's gonna keep
we're
going.
just gonna have to run faster, is what I'm
Oh
gonna
man.
say.
No, I like I said, totally agree. In the sense that, yeah, I think AI is moving way faster than the safeguards and the legalities and are being put in place to really protect people and protect their intellectual property, if that's the case,
Yeah,
for sure. And that's where, like I said, I can see the dangers of AI. Although, like I said, for me, it is a tool. It's a great tool that could be used for sure. But it's like I said before, it's a genie that's not going out of the bottle, back in the bottle. But I feel like they're still have such a long way when it comes to the legalities and of protecting people's intellectual property, their copyrights, and all of that. That AI is
yeah.
just moving way too fast for people to have that, or for it to be put into place, for sure. So I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
excited about where AI is going to go and what it's going to
yeah.
do for people. When it's in the hands of good creatives, I'm excited about the things that come out. But I am also worried about just the other side, because again, I know as any tool, there are just going to be people that use it the wrong way and not for how it was intended to be used.
That's true. And we're just going to have to be vigilant and to keep an eye out. I feel like there isn't any way for us to prevent certain people from
No,
using AI the wrong way, but with the rise of the internet, there has always been people out there who use these tools that are meant for good in a way that is detrimental
yeah,
and
yeah,
harmful to
yeah.
society. There's always been that.
That's
So I
just
don't
an
think there's anything new.
No, that's just the nature of,
Yeah.
like I said, that's the nature of technology and a tool. Like I said, a car is a great
Yeah.
tool, but in the hands of a wrong
Yeah.
person, it can kill somebody. A gun is a great tool,
Exactly.
but in the hands of the wrong person, it could hurt somebody. So there's always going to be, like I said,
Exactly.
just a tool used the wrong way and not the way it was intended to be used, for sure. But again, obviously, as those things started to become more mainstream, they put laws and things in place to protect people,
Yeah.
even though there are people that are doing it. So that's what I'm hoping for, in a much more speedier way with AI. It's just like I said, it's the new thing, so everybody's jumping on it. But I think as lawmakers and politicians get kind of up to speed on it and can kind of put things in place that really kind of help protect people. Even though, like I said, even with protections, stuff's going to happen. People are going to do stuff the wrong way.
People will
Um,
be people.
yeah, people will be people, for sure. I always like to ask guests, what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned so far in building your business, working on brands, just discovering who you are as a creative? What's been the biggest lesson and the best piece of advice that somebody's given you?
Oh, I would definitely say that one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, and this is from personal experience, is you being different is actually a good thing. And it is actually a good thing when people look at what you have and say, that is not my cup of tea, because you're saving yourself a world of pain and trouble because those people aren't the right fit for you anyway.
Yeah.
And I could say from personal experience, trying to do things the other way of being the people pleaser, being the version of me that everyone else wanted to see. It was unsustainable emotionally, physically, mentally. You will burn yourself into the ground and not get the attention that you need for your business because you look like everyone else. Like, and all of it is actually just not something that I would recommend. And understanding your difference and stepping into that is the biggest act of bravery that any person can do. I feel like it's a natural intrinsic thing for everyone to want to be loved and accepted.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we think that in order to do that, we have to do what everyone else is doing. When in reality, I think everyone's gotten to this point of realizing, like, oh, I do things a little bit differently, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And people actually want to see me do things differently. And that's how we become leaders. We
Yeah.
show up. And when you just decide to, I mean, am I allowed to swear on the show? I feel like
Sure.
I forgot
Yeah.
to ask
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, when you decide to just do fuck all and be like, I'm just gonna do me, people actually see that and respect that. And there's a part inside every person that's secretly wishing, like, oh, I want to do that too. Like,
Yeah.
I wish I was brave enough to just be myself. Like,
Yeah.
I think we're all looking around and waiting for someone to give us permission to do the crazy thing.
Yeah.
And we all get to this point in our journey where we realize, no, it's up to me to give myself permission to do that. I gave myself permission to wear cat headphones to all of my professional calls.
Yeah.
Nobody, I mean, like, nobody gave me the green light to do it, but one day I just decided, like, you know what, I want to make this fun for me. I'm
Yeah.
staring at this screen all the time anyway. Why don't I make it more fun? And if people can't take it, they are not going to be my client. You know, like,
I
I
don't want them
basically
as a
set those
client.
parameters, and I really believe that exactly. Like, if people don't get it, we are not going to work well anyway.
Yeah.
So when we decide to step further into our difference every day, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery, but it's the best thing that you can do. And you will honestly just live a much happier life. You will attract more of the right people into your world. You'll attract the right opportunities. Everything good will come your way, and all of the things that aren't the right fit will naturally get repelled because you're just stepping further into where you need to be. So that's the
Yeah.
biggest learning lesson that I've learned personally.
So, and you know I have to drop a bomb on that one. Because
So
like I
good.
said,
So good.
that was the biggest thing. Like I said, I had to kind of embrace when I started this show. I wanted to do something, like I said, that was true to me and what I enjoyed, and not worry about, looking like, and I kind of still, you always think, wow, well, is anybody going to really resonate with this, or are people going to really like it? But at some point, in order for, like you said, your own sanity, in your own state of mind, you gotta say screw it. If you don't like it,
Yeah.
then you're not the right ones that I want to be working with. And you realize that as you put yourself out there, authentically to you, you'll find that tribe that it resonates with, that group of people that enjoy your type of content, the way you deliver it, and how you show up. For sure, those people are out there. You may not think it, and that's why, like I said, a lot of people, and that's a fine line that people have a hard time crossing because, like you said, we as humans, we want to fit into the crowd and we want to go along with the herd. It's that one that kind of strays and goes off on their own and goes their own path that, other people start, looking to and saying, wow, he's really having a fun time going his own route and an interesting time going his own route.
Yeah.
So being brave enough to cross that line, it is a hard line to kind of cross, or a difficult line at times to try and cross, but you realize on the other side that it's such a more freeing place to be when you can just go your own route, regardless of what you think, what other people think, whether it's family members, friends, or whatnot. or even clients, thinking, no, this is the route I want to go
Yeah.
down. And like I said, you'll get it, you'll resonate with it. And if not, then that's okay. I just know you're not the right, people that I like hanging out with and serving.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, I want the way that I want people to remember me and to think of me is she's crazy, but she knew what she wanted and she went for it. And I respect her for that. That's what I want people to remember me for. I don't care. I'm like, think that I'm crazy. That is totally okay. But I knew what I wanted and I didn't stop at anything to go after it. And that's what I want to be remembered for.
And trust me, people will remember you as the cat ear, the pink cat ear lady. Like I said, it helps you to stand out, and it's so true, to who you are as a person. Which is, like I said, why I knew I wanted to get you on the show, because, like I said, your personality was just so you, and so unique
Yeah.
to who you were and who you wanted to be. And those are the type of people that I love, being around as a creative person. Those ones that are okay with stepping into who they are and building something, from who they are, and not being afraid of that, for sure.
Heck yes. I'm so happy that we had the chance to hang out today. I feel like everyone's trying to find their own flavor. And I think it's about putting in the reps every day to step a little further into that. I think everyone thinks that it's just this overnight thing. No, it takes practice.
Yeah,
Every day I take a look at who I want to be and how I want to show up as. And
yeah,
I have to consciously remote myself to to take that step and to develop those habits, those patterns, those mannerisms. You have to learn how to step into it every day, and before you know it, you will actually eventually get there, but you
yeah,
have to do it every day. It's not just an overnight, wow, everything is beautiful and perfect, and it
yeah,
doesn't work like
yeah.
that.
There's this
Yeah.
great quote that I love. It's in it's not about, um who you wind up is. It's who you become in the process. It's not about the end journey. It's
Yes.
about the journey in between, who because it's a never ending thing. If you're if you're really growing and learning, you're always going to be growing and learning. But the thing is to enjoy that space in the middle of what you learn, and how you grow in between. Then, what did they say? It's not the birth date and it's not the end date. It's that dash in the middle.
Yeah.
Who have you become in between that time? So that's why I try to tell myself, and lean into that. Not worry so much about, well, my friends think I should go down this road. My parents think I should go down this road. My family think I should go down this road. It's what road makes me happy, and what road am I feel like I'm going to grow, along the way.
Exactly. I'm on the journey with you. Let's do this together.
This, like I said, one again, as always, as I got to throw in there, I apologize for any of the technical difficulties. Um, like I said, me and Rachel could talk for forever and ever, forever and ever. We are coming up on 2 hours for sure. But because, again, I was having trouble with the streaming, I am going to schedule, another live event, with Rachel, and we're going to talk about this after the call. Um, Make sure though, but I do want to bring this train into the station, and be respectful of not only my viewers' time, but my guest time as well. Make sure that you do connect with Rachel. She is an awesome brand stylist, and she will create a fun, engaging brand. Well, a brand that fits you. Whatever that may be, but she will take, that step to find out that unique thing about you that will really make your brand stand out. So make sure you do connect with Rachel. Check out more of her work. Go to her website, racheltodlee.com. Check her out on LinkedIn, Instagram. You can find her on Facebook and TikTok. As you can plainly see, she has a fun brand herself, and has no qualms about showing it. So that's what I love for sure. All this stuff will be on the show notes. And again, I am going to be scheduling another live event that works uh, within the next couple of weeks. But until then, do all this information will be on the show notes. So make sure that you hop on over there and check that out for sure. But I cannot thank you enough, Rachel. One, for connecting in the first place. Like I said, this, you know, I'm so thankful to be able to call you friend, and so thankful for you to be able to come on to the show and share you and your personality with the viewers. And again, I do want to get you back on because I want this to be a live event that people are going to check out. Fortunately, I got the recording, so I'll be able to throw some clips together and stuff. But I want this to be a live event that we really have fun, and it'll give us a chance to dive into some more conversation and have a deeper conversation about some stuff.
Totally. I could talk to you for hours. Case in point, hours.
Hours.
And yeah, but thank you for having me on this show. I feel like ever since we connected, I knew there was a lot for us to be diving into. So I look forward to one of many future conversations with you. But in the meantime, thank you for having me today.
Well, thank you, thank you. If you could hang out in the green room while I close it out, I'd appreciate it. That'll give me a chance to talk to you some more. But again, everybody, please help me thank again Miss Rachel Lee for coming on and just making this such a fun episode, such a great episode to kick this off with. And can't thank enough. So hang out for just a second, Rachel, while I close out the show. But thank you, thank you, thank you. Everybody, while I always tell people, hey, live is live. You have to roll with it, even though this wasn't exactly live. Uh, I am so thankful that Rachel is going to come back on the show so that we can do this the proper way. And I will be testing going in over the weekend to make sure and test again. Wow, why this didn't go out the way it did. Like I said, I think it's because I tried to create an event over in Facebook and just confused Restream. Anyway, uh, with that, like I said, this was a great episode. Like I said, 2 hours. That's pretty good. I think that's. I used to say when I started this, I was going to keep it to an hour, uh, or 45 minutes to an hour. But very few of my shows have stayed 45 minutes to an hour. They usually go hour and a half, 2 hours or more, which I love because, like I said, I could talk about this space in this industry all day. And especially, like I said, when you get a guest and friend like Rachel to come on, it just makes it so much more fun that you can sit and talk and talk and talk and talk. What would have made it better was it had this gone out like live, like it was supposed to, and had some engagement in the show. But again, like I said, I am going to schedule Rachel again. The next open date, which I think is a couple of weeks. I think I got a date in August. I'm going to give her open date in August that I'm going to give her. And have her back on because you have to experience Rachel live. You just have to. Can't have it any other way. Anyway, like I said, this has been interesting but fun kickoff to Q3 season 4. Super excited. Again, make sure that you tune in Thursday and Friday, the 11th and 12th, because I will be doing a special event in Vegas at GainsCon. I'm super excited about that. And like what I put on one of my ads, what happens in Vegas doesn't always happen to stay in Vegas. And this event is not going to stay in Vegas. Although I am looking forward and always enjoy going to Vegas. So that's why I plan on sharing this out. But again, it's only going to be broadcast on the YouTube channel. So definitely make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you do not miss out. If you haven't caught any of the ads advertising for it. Also, make sure that you tune in next week because we got another great guest coming on. And I'll be doing that show also from Vegas as well because I'll still be out there for Vegas. But super, super excited about my next guest. In phone, please forgive me if I hacked your name, but Impan Eno, super talented game. I'm going to do this again. Super talented game developer, Unreal Engine instructor, and a Fortnite creator. If you like to play Fortnite, we're going to dive into that. So super excited about having her come on. Super talented artist and animator from Africa. And as always, enjoy bringing my African brothers and sisters on the show and talking about the industry over there. So cannot wait to have her come on next week. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that as well. With that, I am going to wrap this one up. Again, please accept my apologies for the technical difficulties and everything, but we will be doing this particular episode again with Rachel in the next few weeks. So with that, I hope everybody has a great weekend, a great week. I expect to see you guys Thursday and Friday, as well as Saturday next week because we got a lot coming up. And with that, have a good one. I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers, everybody.